Hello and welcome back to Projects in Java. Today we're going to continue on our JSoup project. We're going to work on the WordCount class. So this is the class that counts each of the words, and it does that using a hash map. So I'll name this WordCount, and this is going to extend JScrollPane as well. And then we're going to need a string called text. This is going to be all the text that's in the HTML document. It's going to be parsed, so it's not going to have all the HTML tags. Then we're going to need a hash map. And our key is going to be a string. It's going to be the word. And then we're going to have an integer value. And that's going to be the number of times the word has appeared. So we'll call this counter. Then we need a JPanel. And then we also need an array list of entries. And we're going to use the same type, a string and an integer. And we'll call this sorted. And so the hash map is going to keep track of the amount of times a word has appeared in the document. And then we're going to use the array list to sort the hash map. Next, let's go ahead and create a constructor. And this is going to take a document. Just do some imports. So import hash map, JPanel, array list, and entry. Now let's go ahead and initialize counter. So equals new hash map and string and integer. And then we're going to get the text of the HTML page. So that's doc.body .text. And then we're going to initialize panel as well. So panel is equal to new JPanel. And that's going to be a grid layout. And we'll get the counter.size. And we'll make it span 2 columns. One for the key and one for the value. And before we create the panel, we need to count the words. So we'll create a method for that. And we're going to use a string tokenizer. Now this is a very simple way to process the input. It'll divide it by white space, but you might need something a little better than this because there are words that usually go together but are spaced. And then of course there are words you would want to ignore, things like a, the, of. So common words like that you would want to ignore. So keep that in mind if you want to make this more usable. So we're going to pass this the text. And while string tokenizer has more tokens, string word is equal to st.nextToken. And then we're going to have an int count. And we're going to check to see if our word is already in the hash map. So we'll call contains key. And we'll pass that word. And so if it does, we'll get the value. So counter.getWord. And if not, we'll assign it 0. And then we'll call counter.put, and then word and count plus 1. So just to go over that one more time, we're putting our text into a string tokenizer and iterating over all of the tokens. If it does not exist in the hash map, we'll add it as the value 1, and then each time it is in there, we'll get the value and increment that by 1. And now we need a method to sort the words. So we're going to assign sorted is equal to sort by values. And then we're going to pass that counter. And it's going to return an array list of entries. And we'll just change this to map. And now we'll initialize an array list. So array list of entries. And we'll just call this list is equal to new array list. And we're going to pass that map.entry set. And so now our hash map is in an array list. And then we're going to create a comparator that compares entries. And call this by map values equals new comparator. And then we'll create the compare method in here. So public int compare. It's going to take an entry. And we're going to call this one left. Then we're going to take another entry. And we'll call this one right. And then we're going to return right.getValue. Compare to, and then left.getValue. And so now that we have our comparator, we can use collections to sort. So collections.sort list and by map values. And so if you haven't used collections before, you can use it to sort a list. And if you want to give it specifics on how to sort that list, you can pass it the list with a comparator. And since we're using hash map, we can't directly compare things like integers. So we have to get the values and compare the values. So we need a comparator for that. And then now we'll just return the list. And now we need to create some JLabels so that we can put them into the panel. So for each entry, call this entry and sorted. We're going to create two JLabels, one for the word. That's going to equal to new JLabel and entry.getKey. And then we need another JLabel for the value. So we'll call this val is equal to new JLabel entry.getValue dot toString. And then we'll add these to the panel. So panel.add, add word first, and then add the value. Next, we'll set the viewport view. That's going to be equal to panel. And then we'll set the preferred size. Next, let's go ahead and add this to the main class. So here we'll add a tab. And we'll call this WordCount. And that's going to be equal to new WordCount. And we'll pass doc to WordCount. Now let's go ahead and test this. And so we have our links, our images, and our word count. In our next video, we'll make clickable links.